Hello, sexy souls. How are you all doing? Welcome to Weird and Woo Woo. The setup's a little bit different on the screen, so I guess I need to. I don't know. Is that good? Oh, I have my coffee. Alrighty. Um, in true fashion, I do have. Today is the day of getting it done. I have a video to upload that kind of piggybacks off of the message from Sunday when I did my live. Um, but my children. So Monday, my littlest decided that he was going to get sick and couldn't tell if he was getting sick at first. I was like, what is going on? Um, there's just a bug that's going around where it's impacting the stomach, but just from one end, if you get what I'm saying. So I was like, are we, because he's lactose intolerant. I thought, did we get something that we're not supposed to have? And like we had to wait it out to try and. So there was that. And then my other one who had the surgery woke up yesterday morning with his whole face like this. Had to go to the oral surgeon, go back and have him cut it open again and like irrigate it, like flush it out, put antibacterial stuff in it, and re-prescribe certain. So he had an infection, and usually about 3 weeks after surgery is if you're gonna get one. That's when it shows up. So yay! So he's also home. He's home today. He was home yesterday and today. Like I was like, I'm gonna get on all this week, but when you're having to travel to all over God and Creek. Looky, my little one put this on my desk. He was doing crafts yesterday, while he was home, and he made me a one-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people, and he put it on my desk. And then he made me another monster because y'all know. Oh, he's gonna be so mad. Oh my god. He made me another little monster and put it on here, but things are falling off. Okay. All right. So it had feet all over it with an eyeball. He made a third thing, and I told him he couldn't put it on the desk. He goes, I thought you loved my creations. I was like, boy, you better quit with your try gaslight me, guilt trip me, little boy. Anyway, so I'm back. I will upload that other video. Again, it does have something to do. It's a nod to Sunday's live reading. So if you haven't seen that one, I'd go ahead. It was like 2 readings in one. But today's coffee and tarot, which means we sit down and we don't come into it with any kind of preconceived notions, questions, parameters, time frames, anything like that. Spirit gets to have a conversation and they lead the way. So we are just here to listen. I can ask questions all I want. It does not mean that Spirit is going to answer them. Okay. I will try to get clarifications. And it's like, Spirit's like, I'm in charge of this conversation. We're going the direction I want to go. And I'm like, oh, okay. So just so that you're aware, that's how coffee and tarot goes. Um, so get your tea, lemon water, hot toddy, coffee, whatever it is that you want. Settle in, get comfy, cozy, and we're going to see what the message is today. Now, just a friendly reminder, you are a sovereign being of your life. You get to determine if, how, when, where, why any of these messages might apply. My recommendation is to never Cinderella shit to make it fit. Okay? Yay! I have to break this deck out soon. As you can tell, like this is a German deck, um, Oracle deck that I have, but I bought it and the book was in German, everything's in German, so I've had to look things up and I'm trying to get familiar with the energy. So it's similar but completely different from like Lenormand, Kipper, things like that. But like I have to I've got the little cheat codes on here and I keep playing with it. I will be whipping it out. I've had this thing for 3 years and have yet to use it on this channel. But I think that it's time. So, um, all right. I said that because I was looking for the deck. I am feeling the moon Moon Magic Oracle. Hold on. Moon Magic Oracle. I got it right. Anyway, all right. Let's just go ahead and get started. I hope everybody's having a great morning. My teenager is still asleep upstairs because why not? Also, on top of that, y'all, we get home and I go to pick up his medication. They didn't call in all the medications. And I was like, luckily, I have a few pills from the last time, from the actual surgery that were antibiotics. But I was like, are you gotta be kidding me? Sometimes things just, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, ran out of creamer this morning. Had to go get coffee at the. I got coffee. I didn't have creamer. And like I didn't want to drive out of my way to the grocery store. I swear to God. Anywho's. All right. Here's the funny thing, guys. Somebody explained to me. The spirit's funny like this. Nowhere, like I mean, no one was mentioning daffodils. I've been mentioning daffodils for what, 3 weeks now, or more, actually, about daffodils being like a signifactor of like when they blossom is like a time marker for people. And tell me why in the last 4 days I've come across just the scrolling or going daffodils, daffodils, and like several, like at least 3 readers. Because when I see the word daffodils on a screen or when I stop because I'm like, "Oh, what are you saying?" Um, and they're like, "There's something about daffodils, that's the time, like, when the daffodil blooms." And I was like, "Spirit." I have never before this heard a reader use that, and I thought, sometimes it's nice to get confirmation that other people are picking up on what you're putting down, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you get that and it's as a reader, channeler, that kind of thing, because obviously the cards don't tell you that the daffodils mean something. Um, it's nice to get those confirmations, and you're like, look at you, Spirit. Toad. $34 is significant. The number 34. Very specifically, they're hollering that. Glimmering. And then moonflower. Flowers are significant, of course, because like I said, as soon as the daffodil blossoms. And funny enough, we have a tree out back that already has bloom, like has the buds all over it, and the flowers are about to come out. Hold on. Yet the daffodils around here, they got the greenery coming up, but no buds on them. It's gonna be like any day now. So there's some timing any day now. Hold on. People who know me, who've been at the channel know that I sneeze like I can sneeze up to like 9 times. It's a thing in our family, and it's the most annoying thing of all the things and traits for me to pick up on. I'm like, are you serious? All right, let's go. Toad, 34. Again, 34 is significant. That might be somebody's age. I don't know why that's so. Hey, Andrea, how are you? All righty. I'm going to get my shit together. I always say that, and then I always feel like I don't. So just being transparent here, okay? Value, truth, and acceptance. What the fuck? What are we doing here? As a creature of the twilight hours, the toad is most comfortable hiding in the silvery mists of dusk and dawn. I feel like this is going to be good. He shuns the bright light of full day. Oh, we know where this shit's going. Already. Preferring to conceal himself away in the shadows. When this card comes up, it is reminding you that beauty is within and that you should not hide your unique beauty away for fear of a judgmental society. Alrighty. It's giving in the South, we call it a come to Jesus talk. It's like from the pulpit. We about to preach. We're about to preach. Okay. So obviously somebody feels as if they are I don't feel like somebody is fully hiding. But I do feel like somebody is shrinking back, is shrinking a little bit for fear of judgment from society. And I don't think it's society as a whole. I think it feels like specific niches, areas, parts of society. Because I get the feeling as if like somebody's like couldn't give two shits about anybody who says anything over here. But why does it feel like it's actually not society? It's your own judgment. Look, I'm just feeling into this, and I feel like somebody is. It's like you don't want anybody to echo back to you the parts of you that you feel are lackluster. So meaning like if let's say you do something that requires attention and then you watch it back or you reevaluate it, later. I did this on Friday and my son had an IEP meeting. If you don't know, that's like individual education plans. He's got dyslexia, all kinds of stuff. And so it impacts how he absorbs and gets all of the information, um, how he processes. And so I remember, you really have to go in as an advocate. And I remember coming back out. Like I felt really strong in the moment about what I was saying. And then, but you kind of like reevaluate you play it back over in your head. And there was a moment where one of the teachers, we're talking about the changes that are happening in the education system and needing to access and take advantage of certain resources while they last because there's a lot happening at least in my country that is revamping the education system and taking away access to a lot of things for kids, whether it's anything from their gender to their skin color to their how their brain operates, right? Neurospicy kids, right? And so I was replaying it and I got like she was saying something and I got caught up in it. And I'm all like, "Oh my god." Like she was talking about something that was her lived experience. And mind you, in all of this, it triggered something for me. Now, I do a really good job a lot of times of not interrupting. I've had to cultivate that because as a neurospicy person myself, I want to like add to, oh yeah, kind of thing, and I have to like catch myself and pull myself back. I didn't in this moment, and so I ended up interrupting her right as she was like saying, like all the things that made people treated her like she couldn't do. Either she was the youngest or like her skin color, things like that. And I entered her at that time and I'm replaying it in my head and go, I never circled back. Here I am, a white woman and this is very, very pertinent. If you don't understand why it's pertinent, there's probably a little more education that you can do on the topic. But um, a white woman interrupting a black woman discussing her lived experience. And while the meeting was about my son, who also has melanin, he's biracial, and he is treated in the lovely red state that I'm in as such. And I was just like, "Oh my god." Just another person, cutting somebody off short, thinking like what I have to say is more important, blah, 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 blah. So I immediately it's probably like school has let out like 30 minutes later, and I'm at home and I'm like, "Oh my god." So I send her a message and I'm like, "I just realized I did this." I was like, I usually try to make sure that if I interrupt somebody, like I go, okay, okay, sorry, sorry, you go ahead, kind of thing. And I didn't. And I can't imagine how many times in her life she's had that experience where her voice is not as important. She's cut off, not listened to. Her lived experience is not valued. And I didn't wanna be one of those people, and I sent her this long paragraph, like, "I am so very sorry. That was, rude of me. I don't wanna be one of those individuals. That I know that I probably missed out on a very valuable." So I'm, like, assessing and judging and all kinds of stuff, and she's like, "Oh, honey, no. No, ma'am. You're fine. That meeting was about your son." Like, she was perfectly okay with it. It's the idea of I felt a certain way about it, and I couldn't stand the fact if she felt the same way. I thought, "Oh," and it didn't change necessarily that I felt like I should not have done that I should have done better, that I should have caught it. Um, and that her lived experience as someone who has melanin in a state that we exist, like literally where we live, it really matters. It's pertinent. It had value, and she felt like the fear that she's sitting over there seeing exactly what I'm seeing was just like I couldn't stand it. And use that as an example because whatever critique I had of myself may be very valid, um, is noteworthy, even if it's a critique about your own body. Like, I don't like it when people, you shouldn't do that. This idea of like, oh, if society hadn't taught you to be like that. No, look, I get to have my own fucking opinion about myself. I get to have an opinion about my looks, about what feels right to me, what makes me feel comfortable in my body, and it's not necessarily hinged upon what other people fucking think. Okay, okay. It's a projection when you assume that I feel a certain way because of other people. You're making an assumption that says more about you. I couldn't give a shit less what people think of my body, really, of my looks, because when I like what I'm living in, when I like it, does not fucking matter one iota what other people think. You can't tell me shit. You can't tell me shit. Okay? You can sit there and say all kinds of shit. I don't fucking care. It don't matter. It does not matter. Um, you can't tell me I look ugly. You can't tell me I don't like I will feel like I'm up here. Does that make sense? But if I do have something that I'm like, this doesn't feel like me, I don't like this. This like something doesn't feel right in my own body, it is very valid. And I don't appreciate people cutting me off, telling me I shouldn't talk like that, shouldn't think like that, that's being self-loathing. No, it's not. I love myself. And the fact that they don't understand that dichotomy, that they don't understand that polarity where you can utterly, that's my son, he dropped something, utterly feel like you love yourself totally and still be like, have a critique of yourself and be like, I'm uncomfortable with this or I don't like this. To me, that's being able to be in that space proves the level of self love you have, self awareness, how in touch you are with yourself. If you're not capable of doing that, living in that polarity, I sometimes question how much you truly know yourself and how really at one with yourself you are. And that again, that's the reason why I'm like, it's a projection. I mean, like, don't put that on me, kind of thing. But still, even in that, there's certain things that matter so much to me that I don't want other people to perceive them. I don't want them to see it too. And so while I do not hide my visibility, I have in my experience, I understand this, shrunk back before. And look, I'm 45 years old, guys. I've had enough lived experience to understand a lot of the things that come through. Maybe not everything, because I haven't lived every lived experience on this earth. I am a white woman in a very red state, but I still have a lot of experience. So I can align with a lot of the messages that come through, not because I'm currently experiencing it or that I'm reading for myself, because I hear that shit. I see that with other readers a lot. They're, oh, you're just reading for yours. Maybe value the fact that there are people who have such lived experience that they have wisdom, discernment, and the ability to articulate these things so that when they're giving you a message, they can parallel it so that you understand. Just saying. But there are times where it's like what I want to hire or what I feel is um a critique that I would have of myself is not necessarily something that other people are going to perceive or feel as if it's something that needs to be critiqued or something that needs to be improved upon or even something that they pick up on. Just like that instance where I thought that was pretty shitty, Shauna. And she was like, "Oh no, it wasn't even a thing for me." Do I still want to be aware of that and not perpetuate that? Do I still feel like it's something? Absolutely. But do I walk around being so afraid to chime in now because I'm like, do I get so in my head that it impacts how I project myself to the world? My confidence in what I'm saying. That's the thing. So this feels a lot like somebody who is not even necessarily looks like that's an easy low hanging fruit example, but it's it's something that I want to improve on, I want to change, that I am questioning. It's a face that I don't wanna present to the world, so in fear that I might, I hold back. I'm holding back because it's a part of me that I want improved, and I just don't want people to see that. Um, a caustic manner could be indicative of deep trauma and old wounds that have left lasting scars. A cold shoulder might mean that someone's trust has been betrayed in the past with disastrous consequences, meaning like when you give a cold shoulder. The toad is a creature of the moon. He is a magical, musical, and on occasion poisonous. He asks you to tread softly and judge on behavior, not appearances. So, the idea of looking at something for looking beyond surface level, how something came across into something deeper and more. People can see you far beyond those little aspects that you feel like need improvement. You are not sequestered or limited to or shrunk to just those things. People can see. I feel like this is like have trust that other people can see far beyond. They see you in a greater totality than you. You get so hung up on those little things and concerns of how people will perceive those aspects of you getting something wrong or not presenting quite right, that you are projecting onto others their inability, like they have an inability to see the totality of you and that they can give grace. Let's go to glimmering. Unique, of course, gifts and loving. It's a card of hope, anticipation, and joyfulness. It might indicate that there's auditions, interviews, presentations, promotions, graduations on the cards. Um, basically, like an opportunity for you to show what you are made of. Oh, well, I wonder if I can like you're holding back. I feel like saying for some again, not to minimize parts of you that you want improved, parts of you that you want to address, but you're holding back the whole as a result. Assuming that people can't see beyond that and love those things, like you're assuming they will get caught up on it as well. And it's like you're withholding a gift to the world as a result. and spirits wanting you to show people what you're made of and to demonstrate what you can do. So it's almost like doing these things on a smaller scale, whatever it is that you do, you shrink. Again, I don't think that you really actually give a shit about other people's opinion. Like if somebody was to, if it were an aspect of you that you're like, that's amazeballs, you wouldn't fucking care what somebody said. You would not. It's that fear of the mirror that they are. Like if someone shows you this back, the minuscule sliver of you that you want to address, it's like, I don't want that amplified. I already know this about me. And we see this on social media. Let's go back to the looks thing. There are people who will we've seen people blow up because they received heat for the way that they looked, something that they can't help, born with. And it's the reason that some people just don't, I mean, it's one sliver of an aspect of who they are that they may have always wished they could change, not necessarily because other people say something about it, because it's something that's something to them. And to have that amplified back to you, the fear that that will be amplified back to you. Like, you think I don't already know this about me? The fear that you may make that center stage, that others can't see beyond that, that's what's holding you back. You have a unique set of skills, talents, abilities that you can draw upon to spread more light in the world. We can all do little things to make the world a kinder, happier, better place. We can play a part in fighting poverty, want, ignorance, bigotry, animal neglect, so on. When the glimmering card shows up in a reading, it is suggesting that you find ways to share your own unique light with the world. What can you do today to ease the burden of another? Hold on, I think it keeps going. There we go. Whatever you have, the talents and ability to do it soon and share the loving light of your kindness out into the world and around you. This card also represents an opportunity for you to take center stage and to be the center of attention in a very positive way. It's a card that offers a glimmer of hope to all it touches, not just you, but those around you. So be prepared because this is your time to shine and the world will benefit from your light. So there's going to come a moment where this attention is going to be on you, where you have this capacity and they're asking if you're going to do what you've done before and minimize yourself and shrink back and hide in the mist. To have faith in those that you project to, that not project, I don't want to use that word, that you uh come in contact with, that they see the totality of you and that they honor who you are beyond just those little tiny aspects that you wish you could improve. Again, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But the fear you have that somebody's going to reflect back to you, the one thing that you wish you could change, is stopping you from being your mostness. Blossoming, growth, and accomplishments. That's what the moonflower is. A time of blossoming's about to begin. Now is not the time to hide away and I swear to God, now is not the time to hide away and stagnate or stay closed up tight as a bud. Now is the time to turn your face to the light and drink in that which nourishes you. Growth can be painful at times, occasionally coming about through difficult life lessons, but have faith that you will be able to be all the better for it. They're not saying that there won't be moments where people will reflect back to you something that you feel not necessarily insecure about, but that you feel Did you judge yourself for? But that those that you can t those that you are meant to touch, that you are meant to share your light with, are vast and far more important. And let's get back to the idea that if you didn't give so much of a shit about it, you wouldn't fucking care what they thought or said. You're not afraid of what other people think. You're just afraid of constantly facing the thing that you don't like about yourself. Again, you absolutely can have this. You can be like, this I want to change. Um, but if you can find that space where you bring that I don't care what they think into despite whatever this is, if you can get over the fear of somebody else perceiving the thing that you wish to improve, because you're quite powerful and potent in a lot of respects when it comes to that. I do get the feeling that you're just like, who are you? You don't even matter, and you need to carry that forward. Humanity in of itself matters. Individuals, though, on your life path, your joy, your contentment, your happiness, they fucking don't. Only you do. And if you can remember when they're trying to show a mirror to you, it's because they can't look in one at one themselves. So it really is still a projection. And you won't take it so personal. You won't give a shit so much. It's not worth not having a full life for, is basically what they're saying. Um Achievement breeds confidence. Increased confidence leads on to greater achievement. That is how personal growth works. So, and if you're holding yourself back, you can't have those accomplishments. You cannot have those achievements. Set your mind to something, expand your skill set, and know that you have the capacity to grow into an even more dynamic and accomplished individual. Blossoming growth and accomplishments. Let's see if there's anything else they want to add to this. I think that they're prefacing things. They're like, "Hey, by the way, let's give a little backdrop to what we're about to tell you. This is what they're noticing, spirit. This is what they're seeing, and how you're approaching something. And they're like, we need to address this before this moment of attention comes about, before this opportunity comes about. It's time to not give a fuck. You can give a shit all you want, but other people are not you. This is what like. I understand in the spiritual community we say other people are a mirror for us, and I agree to a certain degree that we can learn a lot about ourselves through others. That's the reason why we use tarot. It's the fool's journey. When we are constantly like going deep within ourselves and like the spotlight is always on us, it can become very difficult to see our way and to move beyond any insecurities. But when we hear a story, when we listen to music, when we watch a movie and we can see ourselves in someone else's story, we often can receive and relax into the messages and the lessons and the expansion um, that's being portrayed to us, right? The opportunity for that that's being given to us. So that's why we use tarot. It's the fool's journey. You can see yourself in the story instead of utterly scrutinizing yourself and having that spotlight on you. It can cause you to freeze. And so, got the birds out there having a fit. Um, a moment is coming up where you get to take center stage for whatever it is that you do, and spirit wants you to take full advantage of it and to not allow this habit of shrinking back because somebody might notice something. Again, if they don't like it, you don't really give a shit. It's that you don't like it. That's what matters. and you can address it. You can work on it. You know what I'm saying? Or not. Or fucking not. Or not. It's just always gonna be something that you're like, "Yeah, I don't like." Nothing and no one is perfect, and that's perfectly okay, and don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't dislike something. You can. But allowing it to dictate your lived experience, allowing it to limit you and shrink you back, that's what spirit wants to address. Is it Crave? Is it Crystal Crave? F you, the F you song. I can't say it. Fuck you. Fuck you. I ain't in the mood today. Um, you don't really give a fuck about me anyway. I feel like that's the song. They're giving me that one right now. It's kind of, I mean, it is. Let's put it this way. You know how like you can complain about your mama, but if somebody else does it, it's like, who the fuck are you? That's really how the attitude you should have. You can look at yourself and critique yourself all you fucking want. You should be questioning when other motherfuckers are doing that. You should be going, is this really something you need to address with you? Because why you over here critiquing shit in my life when you got shit you gotta take care of? I'm not saying that we can't call one another out. I'm not saying that you can't hear somebody out, but you can definitely fucking tell when somebody's gonna try to prey on something that is your insecurity. And if they're gonna do that, that means they don't have the capacity, the willpower, the confidence, the sense of self-worth to do it for themselves. Okay? And that alone should hit another nerve with you. You're like, oh, I don't give a shit what you think. Like there needs to be a hangman moment where you perceive this a little bit differently. It's like putting the crown back on, remembering who the fuck you are. Emperor, Five of Pentacles. Funny, how are you going to be an emperor? How are you going to have an empire if you remain in a state of lack? Where are we going? Hmm. We have Justice. We have the Four of Cups and Three of Wands. It's like waiting, like being so apathetic, waiting for something, being really discontent with what is, sick and tired of it. Three of Wands, also waiting for your ships to come in. Four of Cups, waiting for the proverbial cup from the sky, waiting for my ships to come in, like waiting, 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 waiting. I feel like something's about to make up for that. Something's about to make up for the wait. Let me have the Five of Pentacles and the Emperor, please. Five of Swords, that mental conflict, the back and forth, with the moon, some sense of that's your subconscious right there. Some deep rooted something. Something that you feel or believe on a deep level. But also the moon is kind of like you look at the phases of the moon's face. It talks like it's going from not being seen to being more, more, more until the full light of day, very vulnerable, being seen completely. That has somebody up in their head. I'm asking about the emperor. Somebody that is an emperor hides back, shrinks to a certain degree. Not in all areas of life, but in a very in very remember at the beginning I said certain aspects of life because they believe that they lack in that area. It is an insecurity of theirs. That they somehow think I feel like the emperor is like, I don't want someone to see beyond. Hold on. Whoever this emperor is, you anybody can be an emperor. Um, you don't want someone to just overlook this aspect that you seem to feel like is I feel like this is like a chunk missing out of your emperorness, of your being, of like whatever this is. It's the sense I don't want you to look beyond it. I don't want you to like I don't okay, this is what it feels like. It feels like this emperor is like, I don't want you to go, yeah, this sucks, but all these other things are great, so I can overlook it. You know what I mean? Because then it's like I don't know if it just amplifies that to them that they should be insecure about this aspect of themselves or what, but it's like I don't they don't want somebody just to overlook it. They want somebody to sit with it, to be willing they wanna be seen. So there's a difference between their fear is that somebody is going to agree that something is a deficit and they're willing to overlook it because of other aspects, but they want someone to see it in the full light of day and still love it. 6 of Wands. They're in their head because they don't want somebody they don't want this to be a "Mm, like, I'll deal with it, it's okay." They don't want someone to overlook this aspect. They want it to be seen and loved as much as the others. I think that's the fear. Again, it's like I can dislike something, but something about someone else disliking it. You know what I mean? Like I'm great in all these other ways, but this one thing is problematic, and this one thing is, and it's like, ah, if it's a problem for you too, then they hold back for that reason. They hold back. But if they didn't, if you didn't, right? Like there's the new moon where you can't see. Let me show you. You can't see any of the face. This first one, you can't see any of it, and you show a little bit more, and you stand out a little more, and then you stand like it's like that sense of utter vulnerability where you're naked. You're just naked in front of the person. You're naked in front of whoever. It's like there's this, and it's like the amount that I think that you don't realize that it's not like people look beyond it. It's that people love it as much as the other aspects. It reminds me of whether it's physical or it's something within you, like, a pattern that you want to get rid of, or, the way that you operate. You're like, I wish it was different. It's giving like, sorry, they were trying to course correct me. Not that the point that I was making wasn't good, but like it needs to be said in a different way. We'll come back to that then. Um, but showing somebody all of you, not shrinking back, is where the success will be. They will love every aspect of you, not just overlook it. Let's just leave it there. We'll come back to that. I don't know what they're trying to say exactly, how they want me to rearrange that. Um, and that's the idea of the justice, when the mind doesn't win out over the heart. Someone's mind is really holding them back. The thing that you feel like, the thing you want improved is is appealing to somebody else. Um, and so if you were to try to at least hide that aspect of you, it would impact the totality, right? Like the moon. I think I'm getting it. I think I'm getting it. I'm saying it correctly. Like with the moon, the phases, like you can't really see everything, so that impacts your view. That impacts the potency, right? That might be jarring for you because in this situation, whatever this opportunity is, the shrinking back will impact what can come from this opportunity. I don't care if this is meeting somebody that's like in a love situation, or if it's a job opportunity, or if it's like social media, like something like that. Like this, if you shrink back because of that one, if that's the one thing that you want to like, oh, constantly, you know what I'm saying? They find it very appealing about you. And that feels very vulnerable because it's almost like you can't hide it. You won't be able to hide it. They'll almost hone in on it. If the thing that you think needs to kind of like improve is the thing that helps to draw them in, there is no hiding. You're going to feel so naked in front of them because you're going to know in every moment it's one of the highlights that they focus in on, they hone in on. Again, you don't have to change your mind about this part of you. If it is something that you want to improve, whatever improvement means to you, if you want to expand on it, if you want to evolve it, whatever it is. But it feels so vulnerable. Like I can't help but use physicality as an example with this. Um, but or even my example, like in the IEP that I gave earlier, where it was like I overthought something. And the thing that I was like, where I interrupted and I was like, "Oh, but this and this," and I got really passionate about something, and it's like that, and I self-critique on it, and it's like, that's what they hone in on, your passion, your fervor, your advocacy, your I there's something about that. You think that it can be a flaw at times, and they're like, "That's that sassiness, that whatever it is." or even like the flaw, like if there's something physicality wise that you usually try to do things to kind of like you like they're always on this side of you or like and you try to like kind of like minimize it and it's like like they hone in on it. You don't get to hide that. So even if this is like an audience that you're projecting to, it's like that's the thing that brings them in. And they love. And it's again, not that you can't say, "Well, I would like to improve upon it," or "I'd like to whatever." You most certainly can, and you don't have to everything is this, and, like, you don't have to be a part of toxic positivity bullshit. Um, but Spirit's kind of like, "We've noticed a pattern. You shrink back because of this, and you find it when people hone in on that because it's something that means something to you." And that's the other thing, like I said earlier, like, you just don't want people to pick up on this because it means they see what you see, and it's like having to look in the mirror, like, a million times, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't wanna you're like, "I already know this about me." But we were assuming that it was gonna be I mean, sometimes it is negative, but you just don't want the mirror held up at all. But when somebody hones in on it, and that's the reason why they're magnetized to you, you can't help but see it every day. So it's like having something physical that you like, I wish I could change that. And so you avoid mirrors because when you're not looking in the mirror, you're not preoccupied with it. You're going about your most unique self. But if somebody else is like, "Oh my god, I love it when you did it," and you're like, "Oh my god, why'd you bring that up?" Like it puts you in a, you know what I mean? There's something that's the people or a person is gonna and your mind because it gets into the 5 of swords about it, and I don't feel like you're always incessantly just like, "Oh," but it does put you in a position where you're like, "Ooh," you know what I'm saying? And so it's like when the mind no longer overrules the heart because your heart really wants to live fully. Again, when you're not looking in the mirror, you're your complete self. You can feel like I'm a badass. You don't even think about the flaw that you whatever, and you're just going about, and so your whole personality comes out. The moment that is highlighted, you're just like, and whatever this opportunity is, it's almost like the spotlight is on that. So if it's something about like let's say it's a relationship and there's something on your body, when you're out and about, you can cover shit up with clothing and this, that, and the other. But if you're in an intimate relationship, a big aspect or part of that relationship is romance and sex and intimacy. And it's like you very well might have to like like it's a part of it. You can't escape it. You know what I'm saying? And then to have somebody be like, "Oh my god, yeah," you on the thing that you're like, "Mm." They're forewarning you that whatever this opportunity is, the thing that you're just like, "Ugh," is the thing. It is one of the many things, but it's front and center, and people are gonna love it, and it's hard to have other people love something that you feel like needs to be changed. Because then it puts you in a position of, "Am I not allowed to feel this way?" Like, do I have to put up with something that I dislike about myself because somebody else loves it? Like, is this the only way? Like, I have to despise a piece of something in order to have success, love, just to have the thing that I want? Like, it can feel conflictual. But the thing is that they're saying is, you've been waiting, you've been longing, you've been yearning. You're so tired of waiting for this. And it's like, while yes, you can do whatever you want to improve whatever this is, whether it's, you know, a quirkiness that you're like, God, I wish I didn't do that, or why is my brain like this, or why is my physicality like this, um, or just I wish I wasn't so impulsive. But it's like again, that's like that Aries energy of like they love the fire. You know what I mean? It's like it makes you stand out. It is something that's and whatever this thing is, it stops you from sharing the fullness of you, which also inhibits your gifts, your talents, your abilities. And it's like your ships are coming in and they're giving you this forewarning. They're telling you, not in like a doom and gloom, but like, hey, by the way, just know you won't be able to shrink back. And just know that it's gonna touch that part of you that you like to try and cover or put away or, not bring as much attention to, just so that you're aware. It's going to be as front and center as everything else, if not more. But you can't let the discomfort of people seeing the thing that you wish you could change or improve upon. It could even be poverty. Like you could be like, oh my God, if I just, but it's like you, all eyes on you as soon as like, and you're just like, you're in a place in life you wish you weren't, and no one's going to care. In fact, they love the fact that you are who you are still, yet, despite the circumstances you find yourself in. It could be a number of things. It's like, oh, please just don't look at this part of me. It is a part that you've wanted to keep off to the side, which again minimizes you to some degree. And they're like, you are not going to be able to hide that anymore. Not with this opportunity. Like, in order to keep doing that, you'd have to just forego this opportunity, and you don't wanna do that. It's time for blessings. It's time for expansion. It's time for growth. It's time to get out of the stagnancy. So, there's a coming to terms in this justice. It's time you get what you deserve, but there's also, like, a balancing act of to what degree you're gonna let that impact you from receiving what you deserve. 8 of Pentacles. Sacred Clown. The Fool. I feel like 8 of Pentacles is saying it's time to commit, and it's time to take that leap of faith. There might be a part of you that feels impulsive, foolish, like you might be setting yourself up to fail a little bit. But you just have to have faith. You have to take that leap. It's time to move forward. It's time to move forward. It's time to commit. It's time to follow through. That's what they're saying with commit. It's time to follow through. Tiny hands with a big deck. It cause problems sometimes. Because the momentum this is going to have when it comes in, the momentum. This is the Chariot. This is going from sheer stagnancy to unstoppable movement forward. It's like get your heart and your mind in alignment. They don't have to agree, they just have to be in alignment. They have to be on the same page with one another. This is success. Something is happening If you just commit, if you just follow through with taking this leap of faith, you will have immense success. So if this is a partnership where you're like, you just you're holding yourself back from immense success. If this is a business venture, if this is uh, social media, if this is a political career, whatever it is you think they're going to hone in on, and it's like that's a part of the appeal. Okay. That's a part of the appeal, and you aren't going to be able to hide it. But if you try to shrink back, you are going to hold yourself back from immense success, from a victory that's well deserved. And when you take this opportunity, because we're going to lean towards you leaning into yourself and your future, when you, I don't think it's as scary. I think that you overcome the fact that people can see this one flaw that you deem a flaw. Again, it doesn't change your mind, but you become comfortable with the fact that people love you for it. Oof. You become comfortable with the idea that people love you for this, not despite it. Oh, let me say it again for the motherfuckers in the back. You become comfortable. You become one with the idea that people love you for this and not despite this. I gotta write some shit down because you know me. 2 seconds after this, I'm like, what did I just channel? I don't even know. Again, you wish you could change it. They don't. Yeah. Well, I don't know why I just got this. So I really want to give it out there because I think this is hilarious that they're bringing this up. It's not hilarious though. Hold on. Um, there's got to be somewhere out there a mass. We're gonna go as far as to say a man that is insecure about the tools and equipment that they bring to the table on something, and it's like so they're insecure about it. That they wish they could do something about it. They know, and I'm seeing like a partner that's like ecstatic with it because they love it. Love it. And the other person's like, I don't understand how you are so in love with this. But when somebody has a pinnacle over and over again, what's there not to love? Like, I don't know, like, maybe it looks funny, I don't know, to them. And it's like, I don't care, it made me feel good though. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I love it, and they're just like and it becomes a focal point. You can't help it. You can't help it. If somebody has a really healthy, wonderful, beautiful sex life, it's gonna get a lot of attention. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's a lot of women. They're like, "Oh my god, it looks a little," and then, like, there will be men that are like this. And you're like, "What are you doing?" And then I like looking at it. It's kinda like that. You may still not you might be like, "Look, it gets caught in things when I'm walking and shit. I don't really like it. It annoys the shit out of me, but They like it, so and you come to the place of accepting. I don't know who that's for, but I'm rooting for you because the fact they just planted that in I'm like, "Come on." I mean, it's a good analogy. You gotta be honest, that's a good analogy. That's funny. That's some funny shit. It has impacted me hugely in my professional life. Interestingly, it didn't set me back in my teens. Ooh. Self-love. Define self-love for me. Like, I okay, so let's explore this. All right? Because I got fucking time. You know what I'm saying? Um, let's explore this. I find, and I've mentioned this before, I think you were here before when we talked about this, is that it's not like we'll use a particular term that we feel really uncomfortable with, and we don't understand why. And it's usually because there's a story behind it. Now, self love, the way you define it, either one, self love, as you see what self love is, has changed over time. And that's the reason why you feel like you have a problem with it now as opposed to a teen, or something's occurred to give it a different definition. You see what I'm saying? So let's go back to like when I say surrender. You grow up in a household that's exceptionally it's both military and Christian. Your dad is an instructor in the military, but also a minister, and it's like you're used to judgment and control and um, like ideology impressed upon you that you don't, kind of thing, right? And so you then have a mother who had experience with domestic violence, and so she tries to instill in you a sense of rebellion and nonconformity, all the while your father is doing and it's like it creates this definition of surrender, and you experience in life having to accommodate others a lot and having to, and so your definition of surrender, while still the same, like, we can pull the same definition out of what like Merriam-Webster's dictionary and have completely different meanings. The definition is one thing, the meaning behind something is dependent upon the stories that we hold on to, the stories that we assign to that definition. And so for me, it was relinquishing control, waving the white flag. It is handing my power over. And through a lot of work, I came to a place of the reason I didn't like surrender is because I always associated it with that. But then realized there's ultimate power in surrender. Because surrender is one of those choices that I and I alone can make, much like healing. Nobody else can do it for me. I am the only one that can do it. I am in utter, total, complete control. So when I am faced with the choice of surrender, I'm not losing control. I have total, utter control. And I would associate like people would do things to break me down to the point of, but I also know instances where no matter what anybody did, my conviction was strong. I was willing to go down with so even that definition didn't work. That story of like, oh, but I could be broken down to this. And then I had to understand that surrender was what allowance meant. Again, allowing something and not resisting it completely within my control. It is my choice and my choice alone. And if I am in a state of allowance versus resistance, then I am present with whatever is. It is not permission to have my energy siphoned, my power siphoned. I am still a sovereign being. This is why I say this in the beginning. You are a sovereign being over your own life. Nothing and no one can take my sovereignty away. There was a lot of unpacking, the stories that I had behind it. And then I realized to surrender was to be willing to receive. That's really what it meant. It wasn't about handing my power over because I have the ultimate choice, the ultimate power in that moment. I and I alone can make it. So my question to you is loving ourselves despite our imperfections or difficulties. Is it hard for you to love somebody else despite imperfections and difficulties? That would be my question. Do you find it that if somebody is not perfect or that they have a level of difficulty that you okay. Have you been able to identify why you are not able to do that for yourself? Have you been able have you found like along your timeline because you're like in my teens, I was okay with my flaws. I was okay with my difficulties. In fact, teen years is really when we are the most rebellious. So I would say if you find it difficult to be rebellious, to be authentic, to feel powerful within yourself as an adult, something must have happened to stifle your inner teen. We'd always talk about the inner child. We have an inner child, we have an inner teen, we have a so see this is where I would go down this rabbit hole because I mean, you weren't rebellious. You didn't okay, what does rebellious mean to you? Because in teen years, adults will deem something to be rebellious when really a teenager is learning autonomy and independence. Were you autonomous and independent? And rebellion is when you fight for that. So did you rebel against the forces that attempted to sequester you so you were not autonomous or independent? I'm just gonna wait for you to respond. I know that there's a delay. It delays and stuff. So um tie it to me. I had a lot to do. What does that have to do with finding autonomy, independence, and rebelling against anything that stopped you from doing that? Like taking care of younger siblings and still had time for friends. So again, this I'm also a social worker, so I can't help but utilize and pull from some of my past professional experience. And so this is where we go with the questioning, okay? Um, do you believe self reliant is the same as independent and autonomous? Is that how you define independence? Some people would say independence is freedom from persuasion or freedom from or the freedom to of self-expression, which is not necessarily like independent thought, independent choices is not necessarily the same as self-reliance. And it seems as though instead of seeing rebellion as um, taking a staunch opposition to that which would try to conform you, you see rebellion as in particular behaviors or actions. Um, I would challenge that you were probably still rebellious when you were a teenager. Um, Pushing boundaries does not necessarily mean going out into the field at a field party and drinking, or not being uh, uh, um, what- my brain sometimes does this. Not like you can still be respectful and trustworthy and reliable and still be rebellious. Okay. So then let's bring this back around. So you felt more compliant as a teenager. So as a teenager, you learned so you wanted harmony and you took up this is the quintessential people pleaser. This is where we learn to people please and never learn we form in our life like to keep harmony, we pick up the tasks, we pick up the weight, the emotional weight, the mental weight, or the physical labor of things to keep things harmonious. Um, and I guess I would say you probably didn't get a lot of pushing back on that. You didn't feel comfortable pushing back on that because of the consequences you felt like you would endure, whether it was a level of discomfort or actual real world consequences from your family, from the people that were around you. Um, so when you say that you had self love, it seems like to me, and I'm not going to read what you just posted because I want to make sure that and this is, I'm reflecting back to you what I'm hearing from obviously a very different lens at which I can perceive this through. Your sense of self love that you developed, your understanding of that as a teenager was to conform, comply, and manage things. Does that make sense? Your responsibility was keeping the homeostasis, keeping the peace, keeping things afloat, keeping it so things didn't fall apart. In that sense, you are self reliant. Others were not. They were reliant on you to maintain that. But to me, that says that as a teenager, you learned self love was meeting the expectations of others so that you yourself could experience harmony And I would even challenge that that's not harmony, that is how do I wanna get the right word. Um, Sometimes we will do something. I'm gonna give you a completely different analogy, okay? And I'm gonna transfer it over to your situation. Love, right? Some people will enter into a relationship because that relationship quiets the part of themselves that seems to be overactive. You can get into a very you can be in a very bad situation, bad relationship, and get into a newer relationship where all the things that created chaos and disruption in your life are no longer present. And so your ego will mistaken a lack of chaos for love, for harmony. But that's not necessarily the same thing. So to me, it sounds as though in your formative years, you took the idea of if I can at least stop the chaos, if I can eliminate um, the criticism, the peace or relief you felt with that felt like self love, taking care of you, when in actuality, you were just taking care of everybody else. So you probably didn't really form a true understanding of what self love is. So when you say, I had it as a teenager, but I don't now, I would challenge that and go, you never probably really had it as a teenager because your definition, which you thought was very successful, okay, because you minimized the chaos, you minimized the criticism because you were able to give yourself relief. You thought you were experiencing self-love. It's the Freudian thing where, like, you give a dog a treat and click, give a dog a treat and click, give it a and so you kind of program yourself to believe that that sense of existence meant that you were doing what was necessary for you because you loved yourself. And trying to keep chaos, criticism, um, and turmoil at bay is not the same thing as self-love. I would challenge, and this is where it gets very difficult because as a child, you took that sense of peace to mean you were successful at self-love. And so now as an adult, if you I'm certain that you probably have better boundaries. You know yourself better. But in exercising true self-love, you do not necessarily get relief. You do not necessarily excuse yourself from chaos. You do not necessarily It doesn't mean that there's harmony with your environment. It means there's harmony within. There's peace within. There's a sense of security within. You operated from the notion that if you managed it external to you, you had it within. That's not the same thing. So if you experience now, like, like you're not okay with these imperfections again because people are reflecting back to you. One, you're in certain environments that you probably shouldn't be in. You're in connections that you shouldn't be in, that don't honor your boundaries. And so as a teenager, I was able to maintain that shit. I was able to work it so that everybody was happy, so that I then could be happy, so that I didn't have to experience X, Y, and Z. Again, that was not true peace, because when it comes at the expense of you, your time, your energy, your mental capacity, your spiritual capacity, your emotional capacity, you are forsaking aspects of the self and translating peace external to peace within. And that's not the same thing. It does not equate. And as an adult, you're learning that. Because when you begin to exercise true self love, and people external to you are like criticizing or impressing upon you what you should and shouldn't do, their opinions and their projections. You take it as what was the words that you used? Hold on. Hold on, 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 hold on. Hold on. What was the words? You said you take it as imperfections and difficulties. Is that what people are telling you now? You're difficult? I would suggest that you maybe want to reframe that. That when people start going, God, you're difficult, it means you're doing a really good fucking job of self love. You are having to redefine what self love is, what it means in reality, what that means for the world external to you when you exercise what is right and true for you, when you acknowledge it, when you set the boundaries for it, and when you live by it. You are not good. So I would almost say that you are in the journey now, right? Unless you are finding yourself repeating the patterns as a teenager and realizing, oh shit, that does not make me feel like I love myself. You're coming to that realization. Now let me read what you wrote. So that I can catch up and then my mother consequences and the fact that we needed help. No, not my sense of self-love. Oh, wh when I fucking told you that I will forget what I just channeled, I have to pull it out. You're like, "You know what you wrote?" I'm like, "What did I write?" Okay. Let's go on to that. Um, being comfortable with people loving you for this, not despite this. Okay. I would challenge. I'm gonna challenge you that everything that I said still that this idea of self-love, like the way we discussed it in the reading is still applicable to what I just said. Let me finish reading what you said though. Yes. I didn't feel the need to be rebellious because I had too much work to do at home and also my student duties. The expectations that were placed upon you. Again, you were still carrying the load, is what I was saying. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. You were the only thing that kept things going. And you did that. Again, you didn't. There are people who have families that will do that to them and they go, fuck you. And yes, they have tumultuous childhoods because they refuse. They have shitty relationships with their parents. Some of them leave before they're ever an adult. Um, yes. And then some of us comply to that whole thing. Hold on. Let me get through this. Um, okay. I wasn't speaking about self love. So tell me then what is impacting. Wait, first off, you may not want to say that out loud. Um, do you want to share what impacts you in your professional life? You may not want to share that because you didn't back then. So you may not want to share that. Is that something you want to share? Uh, Um, Mhm. Okay. I'm glad I picked up on that. I was like, "Wait a minute, you didn't share that." So, that's probably not good. Sometimes we don't want things online. Um, God, there's a whole conversation I wanna have, but it would require it to be one-on-one. I'm just looking at your, social professional environments and dynamics that I wasn't used to having when I was younger. That's myself. Other people can just ignore me. I am hold on. I am by your commentary in the chat, I'm making the assumption that you do recognize the tie from your how you would comply with your mother to maintain harmony and how you would pick up the extra weight, how that has transferred right into your professional life. Like, um, you may have not directly had the exact, hear me out, and again, experience that you experienced in your professional life as a teenager, but also you kind of did. Um, Because the same I would challenge and it sounds like the same type of dynamic existed. It may not have looked exactly the same, and you may not have experienced the same kind of whatevers, but it's almost like tell me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like mom set the stage for how you responded when you finally got into the you're like, "I've never experienced something like this in a professional setting, like, what the fuck?" Like, people acting or behaving like this or da 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 da. But your mom did set the stage in teaching you how to respond, because it kinda seems like a knee-jerk response for you, like, it was the most comfortable response to shrink back. Integrity and a spine, God, missing from so many facets of this fucking world. I have gotten to this is a side note. I've gotten to the point where I don't follow people that have no conviction. I get so sick and tired of it. Um, I mean, really. So like, there's a lot going on globally, internationally, like at my country level. Like, there's a lot of shit happening, and these motherfuckers who purport that there's some sense of neutrality in this human existence, or they're on the fence. I'm like, you have zero conviction. Get the fuck off my I don't wanna be associated with people like that. I'm sorry. You lack a fucking spine. That's the problem. I'm gonna go on a tangent. That's totally off topic. I mean, it's on topic, but off topic. I love that you rebel now. And yes, the I'm quite certain the response is more than you ever anticipated. And it probably reaches the what the fuck with the way, but yeah, yeah. I l- Good on you. I love that. Like I like that. Yep, because no one depends on me. Back then, it would be a problem for my younger siblings if I wasn't there. Oh, I feel you on that one. Can I ask you this? Do you feel like it's a problem? And I don't know if problem is the right word. So bear with me. I hope you can read between the lines. Do you think that it's a problem, your unwillingness to comply, to conform, to satiate others, in order just to maintain some kind of sense of peace? Your lack of that. So you rebel now. Um, how do I want to say this? I'm trying to make it so you don't say anything you don't want to say. Um, okay, I'm gonna retract that. I feel like I'm gonna open up a door that I shouldn't. And this is like, ooh, this is collectively. This is actually what we're seeing. Can we just say that this whole thing ties into what we're seeing? Remember I said like things are happening on a micro level, meso, macro, and a meta level. Like it's all happening all at once at every single level. So the idea of the rebellion, the unwillingness to conform, the having been taught to do that, we see that. We see that on national and global level where people and governments and the oligarch rich people, okay, somehow think, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And we're all trying to collectively find a way to no longer play in that system anymore, to work and exist outside of it, which is really you're like, you know what? You recognized too many people. These businesses, systems, work environments are all set up to reflect the same thing that's happening in our society, with this sense of hierarchy, entitlement, conformity, and and you're like, the only way that I'm really ever going to be able to address that and honor myself the most is to get outside of that. And so that's you're kind of like in the like I'm work wise, I'm trying to maneuver so that I'm no longer in those types of environments. You're not trying to change them. You're not trying to, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like what's happening now on a national and global level too. We're like, you know what? How about instead of trying to find a way to fix this system, we just burn it all down. Start my own thing over here. Do my own blah blah blah. Blah. Like it's happening for every like it's reflected at every level. Micro is the personal one-on-one individual. Meso is like community wise, your neighborhood, your community. Macro is like larger scale structures, so states, provinces, countries, and then meta is global. It's universal. Um, we're all addressing this at every single level, all at the same fucking time, and all experiencing it at the same time. Does not actually make it easier because as we're doing it at every level, that means there's resistance to what we're doing at every level as well. I agree. But do you also find yourself like, I'm also at a place, and I don't know where you live, but I'm like, fuck owning a home. If I own a home, I want to own land before I own a home. I'm just like, I don't want to be a part of this system. Yes. Or be poor like me because I refuse to be a part of it. Um, yeah, I did too. There is a transitory period where it gets really rough. Because you said I do a lot of jobs where I had to put up with that stuff in environment. Me too. Me too. The things I could tell you. Ugh. Ugh. There are better fields, jobs, or at least probably more conducive to my way of being. People that think like, yes, there are. But it's also, and this is why I said there's a focus right now. We talked about this at the beginning of last year, where I was like, Spirit was like, hey, there's a financial revolution going on. The way that we understand haves and have nots and access and lack of access, everything in our world right now revolves around what I want to say, not money. Money isn't the problem. It is the hierarchical have not mentality of access versus lack of access. And the only way to make it through this whole transitory period is to create community. And the focus has been, and I know you know this because you've mentioned it several times, like moving to different locations, and at times the leap of faith is so great that we have to act first before spirit meets us. I've given the analogies of like somebody just packing shit up and moving, like people who want to be an actor, like people have done this in their life, and I'm like, how are you doing that? Pack up their shit and they go, and I'm like, must be nice. I have children. I have seen people do it with children. I'm like, what? How do I get to that place? How do I get to that point where I can do that? Where the things that I see as limitations and anchors and reasons not to do something, I can actually just throw all fucks to the wind and do it despite that. That's the true fool card, y'all. Seems impulsive, seems irrational, doesn't defies logic. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have you given consideration to the idea that spirit is directly trying to challenge that? Because I'm doing the same shit. Can I just fucking tell you? I'm doing the same shit. And I'm like, all right, spirit. As soon as you give me away for the, and it's like they're like, if you do this, then I'll give you away. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what'd you do? Um, it's the quintessential faith and leap and leap of faith, honestly, because on my end, I have too many times in my life had it where spirits like, if you just trust and do, you'll see that it'll come through. And then I tried to go, but spirit, all these other times, things didn't fucking happen. But those other times when it didn't happen is because I didn't trust and I didn't do. Let me explain. And I don't know if this has any parallel to your life or not. So you might be able to understand what I'm saying. But I would get into the place where my mom sold a house, and I was like, we were supposed to wait. There was a timing. We were going to do certain things, and she kind of pulled the rug out from underneath me. Um, and I broke down, not with her, his spirit, and I was like, nothing's gonna happen. Like I'm gonna be out on the streets. I can't. Da, 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 da. And spirit had to have like a come to Jesus talk, where they're like, this is going to work out. Just do it. Every time I just do it, meaning like I apply, like I'm looking at my credit score, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, and I'm like, everything logically defies me being sustained, taken care of, and things working out, right? And every time I do it anyways, shit works, like they surprise the fuck out of me. The times where I can pick and point in my life where I'm like, yeah, well, I was waiting for this and it never happened. And then things only got shittier because you told me to do it. And it's like, because I didn't do my part in that. Every time I can point to a situation where I felt like spirit failed me or the universe failed me or things didn't come through or I wasn't taken care of, I can find the moment where I'll tell you what I did. I'm gonna be honest. Look, I was like, "You do it." Like like literally, I did exactly what you're saying. Give me you give me this, and then I'll do it. There's like, bitch, no, that's not how it works. You act first, and then I'll give it to you. You know how many times that shit has happened in my life, and I'm not saying that that's how it works for everybody, but them motherfuckers. So anytime I wait for spirit to make the first move or for spirit to do something, Um, sometimes it can have the appearance that spirit moves in my favor before I can do anything. But if I'm really honest with myself, I'll look back and I'm like, oh, I did X, Y, and Z first. And that's why So for me in my life, the times where I can go, you said you was gonna do this, and you made me believe this would happen. There was something that I didn't do that I was supposed to do, that I was supposed to have faith in, trust in, that I was supposed to follow that inner guidance, and I just didn't. But every time I did, shit worked out. I don't know if but this is my life. And you'd think by now that I'd be so good at being like, "Fuck yeah, I'll do it." Like when you're in college and you had people would dare you and you're like there was no inhibition whatsoever. Like you'd think as many times as I've learned this lesson in my life, I wouldn't resist. Not the case. Not the case. I will come to the table and be like, well, you don't know what it's like to be human because you haven't been human. Blah, 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 blah. You forget what it's like to feel and exist like this. And having to like what you're asking of me, what I have to endure just to do the thing that you want me to do. Like, let me tell you, I've told spirit that they need to take form so I can throw fists because I swear to fucking God, I would. I'm throwing fists at air sometimes. It gets really dramatic. I'm really dramatic. Okay. But if I'm being honest, so when I find myself going, well, do this and I'll go. Give me this and then I will. I mean, it's a surefire that it won't happen for me. And then I get, logical. I'm gonna be honest. I get logical, okay? And I'm like, okay, so you want me to do this. Like I need to make some moves first. But in reality, I can't do X, Y, and Z because I really can't. Like I can't drive all the way to Oregon because I only have $100. So I don't have the gas. Okay. I can't pay for the gas. Um, but what can I do? There's always something. And I have my moods where I'm like, "Man, I can't do that because of this. And why do I have to? All the things I always have to do." Because again, I have the history of like having to take up for other people and having to. Spirit never asked me to do that shit. Spirit frequently told me not to do that shit. I still did that shit because of my trauma, my issues, all that kind of stuff. Like I carried the mental weight. I carried and Spirit's like, well, no one's expecting you to do that now. What we're asking you, we're not expecting you to do that. When I tell you I would, you know what I mean? Like, it ain't my fault. There's a lot of times I wanna be like, "I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to risk this. I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't have to do" it should just come to me. But I feel like in saying that, I'm admitting that I don't believe it's just gonna come to me, because otherwise I'd be acting. I'd be doing. And at no point does spirit ever expect me to forgo wisdom, you know? Because 'Cause I'd be spitting stuff out, "Well, what about that?" And they're like, "We didn't tell you to act stupid. We just told you to act the fuck." You know? And, so for me, um, and can I also admit that there's been times where I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'm gonna act," and then I just act haphazardly, and I go, "See, it didn't work out," and they're like, "We didn't tell you to not use your fucking discernment. We thought you were intelligent enough to act according to the situation. We just said to act. We didn't say to fucking go off all half cocked with the bullshit you pulled, you know." And if I'm being fair, sometimes that's because I'm throwing a tantrum. Well, fine. I'm just and like I may not say that to anybody, but that's the energy I'm operating from. Like I can just do anything, and then the spirit and then the universe will respond well. No, bitch, that's not how that works. What? Anyways, this is my life. I'm admitting a lot of shit right now. A shit ton. Bitch, seriously. The tower moments. Oh, they're assholes sometimes. It's the proverbial boot to the ass, like you're standing up and they're like, "Nah," like they will and they're like, "Well, we told you. It could have gone easier." I've gotten better at it. I am by no means perfect. I have managed to steer clear of, and you know what the other thing is too? Instead of a tower moment, they will let me repeat some shit that I'm like, they'll let me stay stuck. Well, I guess things didn't get bad enough before, so we're just gonna let you do it all over again. And if you think that they're gonna let me get out of jail card early, no. No, you wanted to repeat the pattern, you're gonna repeat the pattern. You're now stuck for another 2 years. So, now now, bitch, do you see yourself? You are literally giving me a laundry list of leap of faiths that all worked out. But in this one moment, you're like, "I must have the job first, and then I'll go because 'cause I'll be on the street." You'll only be on the street because you've said so. I'm just gonna challenge you here. Do whatever you want, okay? But you are literally making the point for me. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah. But anyway, lovely conversation. I'm just saying, like, I would love to know what your the rural area. Okay, so like there's several areas. Like I like the idea, I'm just gonna throw this out and then I'm gonna get off. I like the idea of having the ocean and deep, like thick forested mountainous areas being in close proximity to one another. Okay. Um I don't quite like Washington where it's like good God cold for too long and like overcast and cloudy. I need sun. Um, Everybody knows I love Boston or Massachusetts. It has a even Connecticut. Connecticut, good God, can't afford but yeah, like, you have the ocean, and then you can go 20, 30, 40 minutes, and you're in, like, the thick of the mountains. Because I need rivers, creeks, waterfalls also, and I'm like, that is, like, the quintessential. So I have areas where I'm like, "If you could ever get me in na, 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 na," like, it would be rural, but also, like, I could drive an hour to a city where they have good healthcare. You feel me? Yeah. Oh, so you mean you had a safety net, and this is the first time where you get to do something without the safety net. That's called a leap of faith. That's called a leap of faith. See, the times before, that safety net was imperative, like an acrobat, because you needed to have a little something there for you to have the courage. But after you do the acrobatics about 100 times, you're meant to cultivate that sense of trust with you and the universe. And so basically you're walking the talk right now. This is what I call the embodiment process, right? Where you've been built up and ready to do this, and now you have to actually do the thing, like really do it. So this is the first true test of faith with spirit. But they gave you samples all the way up leading to right now. So you could believe it's real. So you could see the pattern. So your logical mind won't override your heart. Because you have a pattern even your logical mind can't deny. Just saying. I don't know if that's a comfort zone. I think that's smart. I think that that's deserved. Do you really wanna leave where you're at? Oh, I love that. Maybe a trap too. I mean, that is true. Your comfort zone is gonna be your own imprisonment. What sets fire to you? Because that statement of, "I like being here, but I'm okay with moving to," that seems very detached. What excites you? What gives you, like, a little bit of a fire in your belly? What makes you go, "Oh, yeah," like, turns you on? There's gotta be something. So you have this the comfort zone is having a consistent roof over your head, but your fire is traveling where you don't. Or do you want both? Are you like, "I want a home base, and then I wanna travel a lot, but always have somewhere to come back to when I wanna just rest." Is that what it is? I wonder, is it possible to have and this is again, you know, the stories we tell ourselves, right? The stories we hold on to. I wonder if it's possible because when you said earlier you really like having a head like a home over your like, like a roof. That's what I was trying to say. All I could think of is like, man, wouldn't I love to have an RV and be able to just go? Like the nomad life and like to go and do certain things because I've always been sequestered to a place. Like the idea of feeling like I like trapped, like, it's not a comfort zone anymore. You stay in that comfort zone, it is gonna be a trap. It is gonna be a trap because I've never been able to break free from my hometown. It feels like a prison. I will never be able to thrive here, not in the way that I want to, right? The idea of not being sequestered to a place, and honestly, the only reason I don't is because I have legalities here that stop me from going. But if those did not exist, you know what I mean? Ah, but, like, okay, is this not a thing? Because and this might be because 'cause I'm in the US, right? So, I've visited other countries, but, like, can I just say I don't obviously, not the same as living, right? But I feel like people don't realize how much they get to live the nomadic life. It's not by RV, but I see so many, like the transit systems that go throughout all the different countries, or how easy it is to get on a plane, and it's like, I know people who don't have a very particular home, so even though they don't have an RV, they don't have any vehicle, they're so fucking mobile because of the way that life is set up over there, and I don't know why, but it is always so easy for them to find cheap accommodations wherever they go. I feel like I'm not very versed in that because actually, let me refrain that. Like, I'm always coming from the US, so everything's so much more fucking expensive. And we are kept on a limited budget so we don't travel and stuff like that because heaven forbid that we see life outside of the US. You know what I mean? It always seems like despite not, I don't know. It always, anytime I've experienced it and anytime I have friends. I have friends across the globe. Uh, and the things they can do on such little money, I'm like, "You motherfucker." Is that not a thing? Like, because I feel like you could live the nomadic RV, whatever, kinda like just go not having a probably a lot easier than what I can, and that's might just be perception, right? Like, is it? I don't know, I don't know how to I need to figure out how to do that though, because 'cause I'm kinda like, it always seems like it's easier to do that there. Doesn't mean it is. Bitch, look at you. I probably could, and I can. Fuck you! What are we doing here? What? Ugh. So we've basically eliminated everything you've said in this conversation as to why you can't. And I'm just gonna tell you, you're Eight of Swordsing this shit right now. Self-imposed limitations. It's all in your mind. Only thing holding you back is you. I would get that shit taken care of with that damn house because them motherfuckers will try some shit. And I don't even know if it feels a little bit like maybe I don't even know if there's some concessions that you might want. There's something there with the fight there. It's kind of like it closes out the chapter. It really does. It closes out all the things that you've worked through from childhood to get to who you are today as an adult. Um, and maybe there is resistance to, I don't know your situation. So I'm trying to describe energy. It feels like I know they're fighting you on it. I know it should be yours. It feels like there is something there where there's leverage to work something out. I don't know what that means for you. I don't know what they mean by work it out, because you might be like, I shouldn't have to work anything out because it's mine. Um, but it feels like there's a workaround with whatever they're trying to pull. Like this could be resolved fast. Okay. Again, I don't know your details. I'm filling into the energy, and that's what spirit's giving me. Is like this actually could be a lot quicker. But there might be some other deep-seated something where you're not closing that out faster. I don't know, there's something about this situation looming over you keeps this is also something that I've read for whatever collectives I read for, right? Ever since last year. This isn't a chapter, this isn't a new chapter. There's a complete closure of a book and moving on to a completely different book. It is like the resolution of your origin story. Everything that made you into who you are today is your origin story, but it doesn't go with you into your future, into the next book. So think of like all these book series where they have like, but it's like a completely different story within, this series. Um like R.L. Stein, completely different books within. And so it's one of those things where it's like it feels like to me, again, this is just energy. There's a resistance to completely closing that chapter because it's that Knight of Swords energy that we talked about in some of those other readings of once it's severed, it's severed. It's an irrevocable change, an irrevocable pivot. Once something's cut loose, it never comes back. And so it's the idea of closing the book on the origin story because you don't while there's aspects of it that are in this new book, it has no bearing on the next story that's to be told. And so it has to be fully closed out before you can move forward. And there's like a somberness, a somber feeling of closing that, all the while desiring it. It feels as if there is, and like I know, like I don't know why they make it seem like there is something you could do to speed that along. But it's also like a final goodbye. So there's a sense of dragging feet. And I know it seems like your brain is looking for every other reason as to why, because we literally just half the shit that you said. I think the security spirit wants you to have is within yourself. You told me that when you were a child, you were self-reliant. You may still have some residue in regards to always having to be self-reliant, meaning that you don't need external things to have a sense of security because you always know that you will see things through, that you will make it work, that things will go your way. You've been proven that time and time again. You've proven in your life examples that if spirit doesn't make it happen, you make it happen. And then when you don't make it happen, spirit makes it happen over and over and over again. And maybe there's something there because this sense of self-reliance, compliant, all the things that we talked about that are a part of your old story, when that book is closed, it's closed. There's no need to go back, right? Like it really isn't, it's brought us to this time, but it has no bearing on what's about to happen. And so there is something there. about closing that out. Um, I don't know, I just feel like how you move will be a lot different. Um, there's something about when that's closed, you're not gonna experience resistance. And you might wanna check yourself, not to sound disrespectful, but it also feels a little bit like some of the things that you expected to come in did not because of this little thing right here. The need to control the situation where, like, I have to have the contract first stems from the resistance you're experiencing to completely closing that chapter out. Because again, life has shown you you are your own security. Spirit is your security. And then when you just allow, you don't mind. I don't feel like you actually mind. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't feel like somebody who minds going somewhere, using the money to get a place until they figure something out. Like you actually, when when you lack any resistance, you're all for that shit. You are all. That's the traveler in you. That's the nomadic in you. That shit doesn't bother you. It's something else. It's something else. It's the Knight of Swords. You know this is irrevocable. And I get it because what is that Colette Baron Reed? She has that tarot deck where like the lady is standing at the cliff's edge and she takes that one last look back. That's the Fool card. You know, it's that one last look back is what that feels like. And it's like sometimes we just need to feel resolute, you know what I mean, before we do it. Like we know we're going to do it. We know we need to do it. And we like to, our brain will grab us reasons why we haven't yet so that we can feel comfortable in taking as long as we want. You don't need those excuses though. That doesn't feel like it to me. And again, like I'm not here to give you the nugget of whatever it is that 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 you were resisting closing that book on. Um, but I would suggest exploring that because I feel like as soon as you identify that, shit's gonna like timelines will collapse for you. Does that make sense? I just kind of feel like that's something somebody else can't tell you, right? That's something even spirit won't tell you. You have to figure it out for yourself because it's somehow like it's like it lands deeper, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when spirit tells me something, it's just like, okay, like, I get it conceptually, but it doesn't land at, like, a deep cellular level, so it doesn't make that profound change, but when I discover it, I can feel it throughout my being. So, I don't know, there's something there. There's something there. Um, yeah. I don't think we're gonna be tr it's gonna get increasingly difficult in the US to travel outside the US for peons like me. People will still do it, but it's gonna be they're gonna play games around here, with international travel to where people get to the point where they won't even try, because it's so difficult and there's too many hiccups that can happen with it, and random people get targeted and stuff. So, come June, there's gonna be I feel like there's gonna be a solid year where it feels like a blackout to me, where it's like people are gonna be where they are, and only certain demographics will have the freedom of movement. So, like, there's not a real legislative thing that stops it. It's just all these little things that really slow stuff down. So, because I would love to, um, experience the things that I say. I feels like it would be like this over there. It is it not? But we're gonna get to a place in the US where we are really limited, uh, for a multitude of reasons. I mean, they all go back to one orange orangutan, but I'm just saying. No, I don't, but I went to Italy. Eh. No, I have um Swiss, German. I have a shit ton of German. I was born in Germany, but that was because my dad was in the military. Uh, Swiss, German. Hold on, Irish. There we go. It's Irish. I have a Irish and Scottish. So, can I just tell you that I looked at that, but because my family has been in the United States for so long, it doesn't. Because like they go back so many generations in a lot of those. Because I was trying to see about dual citizenship. Girl, my mother's family has been here for 8 generations. That means before anything here was called a colony. And we know what that means. God dang it. We know what that means. And then my dad's like 6 to like it was 6 to 7 generations. So I tried. Like we did our whole ancestry tree and I was like, "Where can I please?" There was probably like there was like a good 5 countries. I'm missing some of them, I feel like. But yeah, no. I was like, it's still too far out. And I'm like, "Dang it." Just to get, you know what I mean? And some of them will go back like 4 generations. Fucking family, I swear. So like I don't even get to be like, "We're from this heritage." Bitch, we've been here so long. I don't get to do any of that. Anyway, alrighty. Well, I don't know who stuck around to watch us do that. But there are plenty that let you stay for, like a year without any kind of real visa. So, but getting like I said, getting out is gonna be difficult. And the thing is because I'm right now, what's under attack in the United States is citizens born abroad, and I'm a citizen born abroad. They are specifically trying to target military families and communities where our military service members get married to somebody that's from a foreign country or have babies while they're over in a foreign country. Now, you think 2 American citizens would mean no brainer, the child's still a citizen. They're challenging that, like citizen born abroad, like what determines if you're a citizen to get at birthright citizenship in the United States. Birthright citizenship in the United States is in our Constitution. Um, Citizen born abroad is not, it's legislated. So if they can create new legislation and again, they are trying to get to it through like policies first through the military. They erode away at things to get to what they want. And so if they can end up challenging somebody's citizenship that has 2 American citizen parents, then it gives leeway for the Supreme Court to then challenge if you're just merely born on this soil, do you really get citizenship? Because how can you if somebody born to 2 American citizens cannot their child can't have citizenship, then why should somebody being born on our soil get citizenship? Like, that's what they're doing. They know the fight that they have, this administration. So they're going about it in a different way. They're going to attack the other avenues of questioning citizenry to then create the precedent to then reinterpret how our Constitution determines birthright citizenship. It is also why they are trying to, the administration is trying to um, attack dual citizenry, having dual citizenship, making them choose. I predicted that last year in January, and now it's happening. And that's what they're doing, like, people are going to other countries, and then suddenly they don't have a passport, and that places them in a bad there's not, like, a pathway for, asylum when the United States is doing that, and so right now the US is challenging people's like, they'll leave the country and it's okay, but as soon as they arrive, it's been reported missing or not accurate or it's stolen or, like, they're challenging like, they're revoking passports once somebody's out of the country. 1, so the person doesn't come back. 2, that puts you in a very bad because the only way to maneuver throughout internationally is if you have some kind of passport to some kind of country. And again, that's also why they are targeting dual citizenry because if people have more than one passport, like a US passport and others, then there's still maneuverability. Because you could still technically come into the US with somebody else's like a different country's passport. And so like they're trying to do that intentionally. And they're cherry picking who they attack or who they I call it an attack, who they do this to because if you have challenged the administration, if you've protested against the administration, if you do not stand for the values of this administration, you will be a target for that. So I know, and this is what I've been trying to say on this channel for over a year, people need to find their safe haven within this country or get out. And there was a whole series I did that was called Mass Exodus last year because they knew this year, this shit, like towards the end of last year, I told people to get it, like if they're going to leave the country to do it within the first 6 months. There was the most freedom then. It was the second 6 months of 2025 where people were, all this bullshit was started happening. But I don't have enough of a following right now to really warn a lot of people. But I called it and I'm gonna keep calling it. And I did a video 2 weeks ago talking about how we're gonna have parts of our country pull away from the federal government and operate as if they are their own country and create, trade deals and things like that with other countries, Canada, China, things like that. The West Coast is gonna do it. You're gonna see New England do it as well as soon as California does it. California will set the precedent for it. Other here's the thing, other states wanna do it, and they have the economy kind of, but they don't have the infrastructure to survive that. So unless California does it, who, by the way, operated as its own country, even when it was for the longest time before becoming a part of the United States. That's the reason why it has the infrastructure it does. And Gavin Newsom is building it right now. That's why he put California as a part of WHO, World Health Organization. He's making it so that they can operate independently of the federal government financially. They don't need the federal government. And so you will see all these other blue states follow suit as soon as California goes, we're keeping our money. We're not sending it to you. And you will see the fall of our federal government, the military, and other things like that as soon as those states stop giving the federal government the money. But the infrastructure has to be built, and that's what he's doing right now. But it'll be very soon when you see, like this year, when you start seeing that happening. Just saying. Uh-huh. Oh, I and that's the point that everybody's really trying to make is like that's our existence. Like we wouldn't exist if we didn't have we call ourselves the melting pot because of that. And so people are like, "What are you talking about cutting like like immigration and everything?" Like that's how we sustain ourselves. Our whole economy is built on that. And some dumb fucks don't get that. Like our whole economy, the reason why we still have Social Security is because immigrants pay into it but can't use it as a benefit. So they're putting money into something that they never get to use and it benefits the citizens. And that's the only reason we have that Social Security helps to pay for people with disabilities and people who have retired who no longer can work and be as productive in the workforce in society as they once were. They still have to survive. Like, that's what that's for. And the only reason it hasn't gone belly up, because they've taken money from that so frequently to pay for other things, that is because immigrants keep paying into it. Our whole fucking economy, system, everything is built on that. We built our entire society around that. And we still have dumbasses who are like, these people need to get, I get being a safe country, but also, what the fuck? Our entire society is built on that. And not just that, I mean, I don't wanna sound like I don't understand our history. Not everybody that came to this country and built this country was an immigrant, because immigration implies a level of seeking to come here, and we obviously built a whole financial institution on top of the backs of people who did not choose to come here and were enslaved. So, I don't want to, but we did build, after the base infrastructure, we built our entire existence on that. People are stupid. And we have, much like in Russia, but we have our own level of oligarchs who have taken decades to get to this point. They were in it for the long haul. It has been a part of their plan since, like, I was 19, like, before that. And I'm 45 now, guys. Like, this is decades in the making. Like, they were like, we're in it for the long haul. This has been chipping away at it for a really long time to get us into this position, because the number of people that actually believe or support this bullshit, like, closer to like 30% of the actual population of the US. But when we have a system set up where it's called gerrymandering, and they redistrict things in such a manner that, because we have the electoral college and not the popular vote, there's a lot of shit that has to change. It looks like more people voted for, and they did not. They did not. Did not. There's only about 30% of the population here. Our system is fucked. It is so fucked. It is. It's yeah. And that's the other thing too. That's how we bring down this regime, is if the blue states stop paying into the federal government, they won't have the budget for this military might that they won't have it. Because I promise you, not enough income comes from the red states. I know this for a fact. The government will go belly up. And I think when the blue states do it, it'll be intentional, because whatever we form as our government hereafter is not going to be exactly the same. There will be a long, decades long period of change that happens in the US. And my prediction is that, I know that they've said this before, where they were like, the last real president will be number 45, which is considered number 45. He was 45. Anyways, is the orangutan. And that's because when he's finally removed and this regime is removed, we won't ever have a singular president again. My prediction is that we will move to a system similar to Canada, where there's provinces and that there is a prime minister for each province, and that the US will be split into three sectors: east, west, and central. And they'll never, because that's the problem. That's why we're in this position, because there was one person, and at the foundation of forming of our country, Adams said, he I think it was Adams. He almost didn't sign the Declaration of like all that stuff, because he didn't agree with one president. It was too close to like having a king. And he said no one person should ever have. And we're gonna move. Like, I'm telling you, we're gonna move away from our executive branch having a president to having at least, because at least if there's 3 and each, and it'll go to the popular vote instead of districts and why is my brain trying to say oligarch for every fucking thing? It's not an oligarch. It's not even close. Electoral college, for the love of God. Jesus. All that shit's gonna go. But that's gonna take time. That's gonna be an evolutionary process. And then setting up the structure for it. cr- Again, like, a lot of stuff is gonna change for the executive branch, which will then change also for our judicial branch. The Supreme Court is gonna change massively. Um, so I just, and I do think that it may, if you have 3 different people appointing the Supreme Court for each of the districts, I'm just saying, like, I live in a state that's considered all Republican, even, and there's 3 major cities. We're very rural. We have a lot of mountainous areas. But I live in a state where 54% of its population lives in just 3 cities. That's over half. And all 3 cities are always blue. But the rest of the state is red, very rural, very red. In every presidential election, we go completely red. And tell me how. And if you look at the number of people that actually vote blue, it is, or that are registered as, like, it's more. How is that even possible? I live in a state where we have, and if you don't know where I live in Kentucky. Governor Andy Beshear is a Democrat. He's very blue. All, like, damn near all of our local government, like state level Congress, all red. And people are like, how do you get a blue? Because of that, because it's gerrymandered. We drew borders and districts that look like this so we could split up blue voters so that they lumped in with a large group of red. Like, it is done in such a way, and Kentucky has always been the litmus test. They will start things here first, then they move it to Texas. They start on a small scale to see how it works out, what hiccups there will be. We were the very first gerrymandered state. We're also home to Mitch McConnell, that piece of shit that, anyways, and then they moved to something larger like Texas. Like, they're very certain states. And right now, they're not able to get away with as much, so they're using Tennessee as a place to, like a where they try things out, but, like, where I live, it's we have a blue governor, and a very red state, where your vote, if you vote blue for a president, doesn't actually matter. You wouldn't make an impact. You don't, because it's the electoral college. So shit's changing. My prediction is we will not have um, a singular president anymore. It will not be set up like that. We're going to move to something more. We're going to have more than 2 parties. We're not going to have an electoral college. Everything is going to change. And I have a lot of predictions for how that's going to happen, because the idea is, if it's going to take that long to really implement new processes, um, some things will be immediate, and then of course you have to, like, as you're working out the kinks, you add layers to it. Uh, I have all other kind of predictions on that. That I see people on TikTok and places like that, and I'm like, they get kind of egoic with their stuff. Does that make sense? Like, very wrapped up in, oh, it's gonna be like this, and it's like, because it gets their ego really going, and it's like, it's not how it's gonna look. Nine, and even to the degree, like, I've talked about the violence that's going to happen, that's going to erupt because of ICE. I had mentioned it. I was like, we're never going to have a full scale world war like the other world wars. Okay. So people are like, World War III again. I'm like, look, the third world war is financial. Okay. Will we have a bunch of conflicts popping up here, there, and everywhere? Yes. Will we have every single country come in on a conflict again like we did in World War II? No. It's not gonna look like that. It's not, especially with nuclear powers and everything else like that. They're doing everything, but will we have all these? Yeah, yeah. Will we ever have a civil war like before? No. There'll be conflicts, fights, like you look at Minneapolis. Um, will we fight our own yes, but not the way that people, like movies and cinema has us thinking it's gonna be like this, and of course our ego wants it to be like that. It's like, and it's like, it's not gonna quite look like that. So then people go, "How could that ever happen?" Because it's not gonna look like that. Because there's gonna be parts of our country, parts of the world where it's like, it seems like it's just a movie because they're seeing on but they're not impacted by it, because it's not everywhere, like, every person experiencing the same thing. Uh, it's strategic. They've learned from the last time. They're not gonna do it like they did last time. It didn't work. Duh. So they're doing it differently. They're gonna pick it apart slowly, bit by bit, until it's. And what you see happening right now in the United States, where we are going through this evolution to get rid of fascism, and the way that you're like, how could this be happening in this location? That's gonna be like boom, 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 all across the globe. Because we see the rise of fascism in a lot of other countries as well. But it hasn't reached its peak yet. And when it does, you will see what's happening here happening in some other smaller places all across the globe. But that's a part of moving into this new world, a redistribution of power and influence, and what that means, and who gets to hold it, and who is valued versus, all that, the haves, have nots. All of that is being redefined. So we will still have money. We will still have financial institutions. We will still have, but it's going to be so vastly different. And we're just in the midst of it all unfolding. And there's going to be, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm predicting this, and I meant to do a video on this, but I'm just going to say it out loud here first so that it's actually documented. The next place to look in the US in regards to the frozen cubes, we have to use code words, the frozen cubes, is going to be Baltimore. Because Baltimore, even though they've been experiencing the frozen cubes and even have a detention center and have had high, like, the sights set on them. Exactly. It changes so quickly that we're like, we can't keep up. It's like, and it's like, there's not time for like, we're like, how do we intervene on something like this? So people have to see down the road and be able to create a blockade. But anyways, that's a whole other. But Baltimore is where we're going to notice that our government is specifically targeting Black people. They've been able to skirt, like, people are crying like, hey, this is all about skin color. This is all about, the reason why you have some US citizens being targeted in other areas up to this point is to get people used to the idea that US citizens can be targeted, and that it's okay to a certain degree, as long as we have the outcome. There's going to be some undeniable targeting of Black people in Baltimore and the surrounding areas that is going to really catch the attention of the world stage. And the administration is going to use, and I want you to understand what I'm saying. They're going to try to use some statistic of the number of people they pulled off the street, even though they were quote unquote American citizens. They had warrants, they had this, they had that. It's not that white people don't have warrants. It's not that white people don't have all these other, it's that they're not targeting them. It is going to be so blatantly obvious that they're not going after immigrants, that they're going after our Black population in the United States. We've seen it up to this point. People have been, the police, this, that, the other, even like, we've been trying, the lynchings that are happening across the United States right now
for the last 2 fucking years, and people keep saying, "Oh, it was self-inflicted." There's not a black person on this earth that is gonna hang themselves. Are you fucking kidding me? Especially not in this country. Not fucking happening. From a fucking tree, fuck you. Sorry. I'm not sorry. It's gonna be pretty atrocious in Baltimore. Um, but Boston, and here's the thing, you would think that the violence would outbreak, and I'm not saying that people won't get violent in Baltimore, but the violence that people are like, "I wish the American citizens would do this," they show it to me happening in where the first American Revolution began, Boston. And the images they show me there, and again, this is with the ice cubes and things like that. Like, this is not military necessarily. It's the one avenue he can create discord, like he can create violence, and it's okay in the US. But the people will get very, like, not just in retaliation. Like, they try to show you these scenes of people fighting in Minneapolis, but these are all peaceful protesters who are reacting to being targeted by the cubes. They show me like a 2-week long, what the fuck, violent episode that's going to happen in the Boston area, in the Boston vicinity, where people are like, there will they're out for they're out for you know what I mean? They're out for it. And the people, there'll be a toll on the cubes, on the frozen cubes. Um, and that's gonna be when shit really hits a fan. And we thought shit already hit the fan, but it hasn't. Um, so and it again, violence is gonna across the US. It's gonna be happening, but not the way people think. It ain't gonna be Sharia law. It isn't gonna be, the Civil War, the red versus. It's not gonna look like that, and it's not gonna. It's not. But there will be casualties when we get into the financial split, because the red states highly depend upon money from the federal government, and when the federal government doesn't have it, that's why the federal government is taking away a lot of these helpful programs, is to get people used to the idea that they're not going to have it, because they know what's about to happen. They know there's, and it'll be a battle in the courts. You cannot take violence against a state for withholding money. You can for violence, but that's why the Civil War is not going to be violent. It's going to be financial. But it will be violent in the toll that it takes on people in their lives. And that's why, in order to survive that, and I'm not trying to make it sound like this, is it sounds dramatic, but most of the things that have been occurring right now in the US don't happen on a dramatic scale. It's gonna get a bit dramatic. It is, but it's not gonna look like in the movies. It's just gonna feel like everything is being whittled away. And then by the time you're there, it's all about survival. And you're gonna be like, "How did we get to this point?" So, things frequently, sometimes spirit gives me very dramatic looking images, and I have to be very cautious because I understand. I'm like they show me images of warships outside Virginia, DC area, where they come in, and it's like there's like we always have in the Atlantic, people from different countries, their naval and everything else like that. Those are international waters. They're going to come close to the edge of where the waters are considered the US, and they're all going to concentrate outside of DC. That's what they're showing me. And I don't see missiles or anything else like that being fired, but I do see like a show of test us. The world's gonna get fed up with him. He's gonna start losing the few allies that he fucking has. And I'm just saying, and can I just say it's not just him, it's a whole regime. If he leaves, this regime is still in place, and that's by design. So, mhm. I'm gonna have to do a whole live on that. But like when I tell you the thing, and I'm like, okay. Um, and that's why Spirit was really focusing on people moving to a more secure, safe place in the US. I did a whole series, a shit ton of them where it was like location change. And I called some the mass exodus long before anybody on social media was calling anything a mass exodus. And I was like, I don't know when, I don't know why I get this information if I can't get it out there. But I'm just telling you right now, like, I'm going to keep saying it and, hopefully it makes it to whoever it's supposed to. But, anyways, I've been on here a million years. Sorry. That's almost 3 fucking hours. Anyways. All right, I'm gonna hop off. I need to. My allergies are kicking in, and I think my teen would probably like some food. So, because he's a, I can't do it myself. He can do it himself, but it's better when mommy does it. Anyways, alrighty. It was good chatting with you. I hope everybody has a really amazing day, and I will be back on hopefully again tomorrow. There goes my phone.